What's up, guys? I'm Dwayne, and this is Blackboard Gaming, where I teach you about all these great board games that are out there waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.
Well, I'm flying solo, and that's cool. Like I said, me and my wife play games to bond together, and she enjoys the games that I introduce her to. Well, she enjoys most of the games that I introduce her to. Some of the games that I introduce her to. Okay, but with that said, I'm the guy that loves board games, so sometimes I would like to tell you about different types of board games that are out there, and maybe you might enjoy them. So, in our last video, we were talking about Splendor Marvel.
It's Marvel Splendor.
When we were playing Marvel Splendor, I mentioned that the hero is only as good as his villain. And I truly believe that statement. It doesn't matter how good the hero is, if the villain is bootleg, then you're not going to be interested in how the hero managed to defeat that villain. The more formidable the villain, the more respect you got to give the hero. So I decided to highlight 5 games in my collection where you play as the villain. And what I mean is you start the game as the villain and you can win the game as the villain. So games where midway through the game a traitor emerges, we can't count those. So let's get started. The first game I want to talk about is Western Legends. Western Legends is a sandbox game set in the Old West. So what I mean by sandbox is there's no set path to victory. In the game, the players play as historical gunslingers like Billy the Kid, Outlaw Jesse James, Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane. There's even some African American gunslingers that I didn't even know about. And what you do is you're going around the Old West trying to earn legendary points. And you do that by, you can rob the bank. You can turn around and arrest another person that just robbed the bank. You can prospect for gold. Take that gold to the bank and then turn around and rob the bank. You can cattle rustle. You can play poker. I mean, there's different routes to victory. So you could pretty much either be a good guy and arrest everybody or a bad guy and keep robbing the bank. So I thought that since there were some African American gunslingers in here, I would ask my wife, hey, would you be interested in playing this?
I ain't robbing no banks.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be her response. If she did play the game, she not going to be robbing no banks. She not going to be playing poker. She not going to be cattle rustling. So she's just going to be the good guy, and I'm just going to win the game. So why I counted this on the list is because you get to play as Billy the Kid, and he's the villain. And so you can actually win the game as Billy the Kid robbing the bank. So that's Western Legends. So the next one I put on my list is Fury of Dracula. So Fury of Dracula is a 1 versus all game where one person plays as Dracula and the other players play as the hunters that are trying to find him and kill him. Now, Dracula's trying to win the game. He's moving secretly through Europe. And he's setting traps and gaining influence. And that's how he wins the game, is raising his influence in Europe. Now the hunters, how they win the game is they have to find Dracula, find out where he's hiding out or whatever. And they're getting items and preparing themselves, because when they do find Dracula, they have to fight him. And they have to be able to defeat him in order to win the game. So I kind of knew that my wife wasn't going to be into the theme of this game, but I gave it a shot. I even told her, hey, maybe you can play, there's a female hunter. Maybe you could play as her.
I'm not about to be the chick who used to kick it with Dracula.
that was a fair answer. So that's Fury of Dracula. So the next game on the list that I think a lot of people know about this game already is Disney Villainous. Now, in Disney Villainous, you get to play as one of the iconic Disney villains. There's Ursula from The Little Mermaid. There's Captain Hook from Peter Pan. There's Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. And what you're trying to do is achieve your own objective while stopping the other players from achieving theirs. So because this is based on Disney, and my wife likes Disney movies, I asked her about it. Hey, would you give this a shot?
I might give this one a try.
And that's all I can ask for. So that's Disney Villainous. They got one out now called Marvel Villainous that I'm waiting to try out. So the next one, this big boy here. Oh boy. That's Escape Plan. Now, Escape Plan, we are part of bank robbers who have pulled off this big heist and got away with it. So now we're living the life. We done invested money in businesses and we stashed money around the city. But then all of a sudden we see our pictures on the news. And we were looking at each other wondering, okay, who snitched? So we the players, the object of this game is to try to get out of the city with the most money. And we're trying to elude the cops using all tools to our disposal, hiring snitches and other folk to try to help us get out of the city. So I got this game at Origins and I really love it. This is like my second best game of all time. And I asked my wife about it.
Again, I'm not robbing a bank.
That was no surprise. So there you have it. Escape Plan. I really love this game. But there's a game that's last but certainly not least that's dear to my heart. It's a game that I got into when I first got into the board game hobby. And that game is Boss Monster. Boss Monster pays homage to the old 8-bit video games where you're the hero and you're side-scrolling a dungeon trying to get to the boss and at the end of the dungeon and defeat him. But in this game, you play as the boss. That's why it's called Boss Monster. You're building a dungeon, building up your dungeon, putting treasures in your dungeon, trying to attract specific heroes to come through your dungeon, and you trying to take them out. You're building traps in these different rooms, and if you take them out, you collect their souls. So when I first got into the board game hobby, I asked my wife, hey, would you mind playing this? You get to play a monster.
So what you trying to say?
Yeah, I probably could have worded that differently, but let's just say I've learned from my mistakes since then. So that's Boss Monster. So these are 5 games where you get to play as the villain. Now, there are some other games that I have in my collection, but these are the 5 I wanted to talk about. If you know of a game where you play as the villain from beginning to end, hey, put it in the comments below. And if you like the content of this video, feel free to hit the like button. Please subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And like I said, I'm Dwayne.
I'm Alicia.
And we will see you next time.